India has always had a rich lineage of spinners. And today joining me are two of the finest from that assembly line of spinners. It's great to have Venkatapathi Raju, who will be hence addressed as they write in contract Chicha, and Sunil Joshi as our favorite Joey. Guys, thanks a ton for joining me on Spin Talks. I think it's been an absolute pleasure doing one with Maninder Singh and then to have the two of you. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Murali. Thanks for having us.
See, as I said, it's just a talk about spin, a talk as if we are in our drawing room, which we are. And the first thing which will always come to anybody's mind is you two have been seen some fabulous bowlers. You yourself have been fabulous bowlers. Why did you take up spin? Why left arm spin, Chitta?
Yeah, for me, actually, when I started playing cricket, I started bowling right arm. I always had a left-hand throw, right? And I was from a boarding school. So boarding school, Saturdays, Sundays, we had so much time to play. You had so many sports to choose from. So boarding school, we wake up very early. So we had these intra-house matches or whatever hostels we had. So I think we started off playing cricket with right hand. Then when I went for selections, one of us, when he gave those catches, we had to throw back to him. When I threw back with my left hand, he asked me, "Are you a left-hander?" I said, "Yes." So he called me, he made me stand there. And then he said, "Okay, bowl." He gave me a ball. I was bowling with right hand. He looked at me, he said, "You're a left-hander. Why are you bowling with right hand?" I said, "No, I just have a left-hand throw." He said, "Don't worry, you got age on your side. Keep rotating your arm." I was lucky. I started rotating my arm. And like you said, why cricket? So we had, in our assembly, we had 3 topics which were spoken every day. There was world news, India news, and sports news. Right, sports news, all the headlines. And our school had a very good cricket team who performed well. Their name was mentioned. So that really motivated me. I wanted my name to be mentioned. So I took up cricket seriously.
Joe, your turn now.
I think I started off with left-arm fast bowler. School cricket, they used to...
Same here.
Right? And one of the school games, my elder brother, of course, he was my early mentor, I would say. Definitely, he was the one who really spotted talent in me and, took me to the best of the places. He was the one who saw that the fast bowling, he said, kept on saying that, okay, when you play a 30-over game, in northern Karnataka, school cricket is all 30-over game used to happen that time. So I used to bowl 3 overs fast and 3 overs spin. So one of the semi-final match, I bowled 3 overs spin. I got 3-4 wickets in that. So he was watching that game and he saw that. And he came back home and in the night he was saying that I think you should stop bowling fast bowling. Just start focusing on spin. I think you will be a better bowler. I think that's where the cricket journey started for me.
I think so many of us have a similar story, isn't it? As a spinner of being a fast bowler, like Anil was a fast bowler. I started off as a slow fast bowler, very slow fast bowler. That's the oxymoron there, slow fast bowler to turn into a spinner. But I think the spinners who have been fast bowlers have always had some solid actions. I think that is one thing which you get to see with all of them.
Yeah, you spoke about, you started as a fast bowler. Joe started as a fast bowler or medium fast bowler, whatever. Your physique and my physique. I was very lean. I was very thin. I wanted to bowl also, I could never bowl in my life, right? Off. If I tried to bowl. Yeah, that's like, fast bowlers, like you said, we had a lot of bowlers, right? From Kassan Gowri, who could bowl medium pace, come back and bowl spin. When you bowl medium pace, you follow through, you finish, your jump is so good. Like you had a good jump, Joe had a good jump. Mine was not a jump. I used to just go and bowl. My action was even more like slowish. But because you bowl medium pace or whatever, so you had that beautiful jump where you could come on to a nice action. And then the action was good, your follow through was good because you had to finish when you bowled fast, fast. That advantage you had. So that's why most of the fast bowlers or medium pacers who bowl spin ended up being good.
So, I think, looking at it, I used to imitate that, bowling Kapil Dev with the left arm, this thing, because of his swing and, that's how it started. And because of his Paji's jump and everything, follow through, there's so many things. In fact, I started cricket looking at Kapil Dev as my hero.
Okay. That was one thing which I was going to ask you, because early influences for everybody are important. For me, although I started thinking of Sir Garfield Sobers, who could bowl left arm spin, it was finally Maninder Singh who captivated me, and I was like, wow, I wish I can be like him. Obviously, you are very similar age to Manivya. Manivya is obviously your senior, Chicha and Joe. Who were your early influences? What was technique for you then, looking at all these great spinners? And because we've had some wonderful spinners in our country right through.
Yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't see the greats, right? We heard only about them. We heard about Bishan Baji, we heard about all the 4 great spinners, but we never got a chance to play with them or see them. One odd match, probably in 79, 80, one match live we could see, but then we heard so much about them. Right? Then every state team had brilliant spinners. You see, 80s and 90s, they were big heroes for us. Anybody who played test and came in, naturally you wanted to be like him. But fortunate, probably during those 80s and 90s, where domestic cricket, all the test players were available, right? And bowling with them in the nets, you could learn a lot. So you had your own heroes, but then name-wise, if you see, being a left-arm spinner, Ravi Shastri just came in, like you said, Maninder just came in, they were all young, they all made their debut at a very young age. So when you played with them, you could learn a lot from them. So I was fortunate because Shivlal was the off spinner that time. You had Narasimha Rao and you had Arshad Ayub. They all played test cricket. So being with them itself is a motivation factor for you. So I was the only left-arm spinner. Luckily for me, Hyderabad was known for off spinners. So I hardly had any left-arm spinners. So in a competition was less for me, unlike you guys.
I want to say that for Chicha, it was less competition. I think if you look at by and large, especially players from southern India, you are born in the rich culture of spinners, right? Be it Karnataka, be it Hyderabad, be it Chennai. So there is so much, even in Tamil Nadu, even in Kerala, even in Goa, there are quality spinners because around that time played. But I was very, very fortunate to see closely because I was associated with Chandrasekhar. My early days, Chandra's later, fag end of his career, he used to come and bowl. I have bowled along with Chandrasekhar sir. I could still hear that sound when he was bowling. I could still hear that. I've seen Prasanna bowling. I've seen Raghuram Bhatt bowling. So these are the players really, motivated us that spin has to, and constant looking at our junior cricket and making into the state team. There was always a backup support for them. Okay, you can do this, you can do this. Because the interactions with them, I had a great rapport with Sir Venkatragun also. And same thing with Shiv Bhai also and Arshad Bhai as well. So it is a quality spinners which not only played along with you, against you, we picked up so much things.
Correct.
Classic example is Kawal. PD and Raju, and we all go a very long friendship which has gone over the years. I've seen Arshad Bhai bowling. When I faced my first game in Hubli, Arshad Bhai was bowling in a ranked turner. So, there are so many opportunities which we have interacted and built upon that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you because all these greats were also very munificent or magnanimous in passing knowledge. I think that is one thing which we have always had. Somebody like Chicha, as you said, you had off spinners around you. And whom did you associate with? Joe obviously had possibly some of the greatest spinners the Indian cricket has seen, Erapalli Prasanna, Bhagwat Chandrasekhar, and I think even Vijay Krishna is talked about in very high terms. For you, Chicha, did you associate more towards the Shivlal Yadav style of bowling because he was slower through the air, very similar to you, drop because Arshad Ayub was much quicker? Kamal obviously was your compatriot, but whom did you latch on to?
No, basically, see, when I started off, I was more of a flattish bowler, quickish.
Okay.
I was only depending on bowling tight lines, right?
Okay.
When you bowl long spells, you're bound to get 2-3 wickets. Mine was like I bowled 25 overs, 15 maidens, 25 runs, 2-3 wickets. But then as I kept growing, that was not helping us. Now, when you bowl to good batsmen, they could just block you, and whenever you bowled a loose ball, they could hit you. So they were getting too many wickets. That's where Shivlal played a big part. Shivlal was always there. He was more of that traditional flighted bowler. So whenever we played Buchababu and all, being an youngster, he would give a field and ask you to bowl according to that. So when you bowl 5-6 balls and one loose delivery, he could come with a small warning. So we all know, Joe and all know, he had, his typical way, he would say, okay, right, are you done with it? Shall we go home? Okay, get hit straight. Don't get hit cross. No? Don't give for cut. Again, 1 or 2 overs I would do that, and again come back and bowl another one short ball. So after 2, 3, then is to really get frustrated. Then it's like, you all played during that time. Short pitch ball was supposed to, you're not supposed to get cut. So
correct.
They never gave you a point. Right.
Absolutely right.
Yeah,
absolutely right.
They were so strict on it because they knew what talent you had. They wanted you to grow as a good spinner, and they know that once you come into that level, you're going to bowl against the best of batsmen. So you needed control. So it was not a bad thing. They always scolded you so that you learn and you become a better bowler. So I look up to Shivlal because he was playing test matches, and then he was very friendly with youngsters during that time, and he was leading a young bunch of spinners. So he always gave that motivation. And when you saw him bowling, naturally you wanted to bowl something like him so that you would be better off, and then you can play better cricket.
It's a great thing you mentioned because he was with us on a few trips as manager. Chicha, once I was part of the team. And even with that thing in his mouth, he could still bowl unbelievably. Joe, for you obviously, I spoke about the richness of spinners in Karnataka. Who helped you, or whom did you look up to?
I think it was very evidently because my early career when I moved to Bangalore from Gadag and Hubli.
Gadag, yeah.
Yeah, right. So I was in earlier part of my career. I was spent about good 5 years in Syndicate Bank. I think that is the time where sort of a mentoring started from along with B.S. Chandrasekhar and Prasanna, and you're getting into the team. And there were 4 left-arm spinners. You spoke about Vijay Krishna, right? I got scolded by Vijay Krishna playing alongside with him in Syndicate Bank. He was there. Jayaprakash was there. Sudhakar was there. Sanat Kumar was there. I mean, it's a star-studded team, Syndicate Bank at that point of time. See, look at Kartik. I was so blessed to be playing, representing Karnataka. Was 2 of the genius spinners, B.S. Chandrasekhar, Prasanna outside. 4 of them successful spinners, Raghuram Bhatt, senior pro. You had Kartik Jashwant, you had S. Prakash, you have Prakash Rathod. So among that, I have got into the streamline, and I was always blessed to have playing. I played quite a few games along with Raghuram Bhatt and Jashwant, right? But I was a sort of a mentor while playing as well. So that is the time where you looked up to someone. Okay, small corrections, maybe your head is not falling away a little bit. You can get a bit more closer to the wicket. You can utilize the crease as well. So those things started sort of a routine work, because I was in Bangalore. Bhatta was there in Bangalore. In the practice, everyday routine was there. But my biggest strength and association came from my mentor, that is Bishan Singh Bedi. There are the stuff which I have worked with him that nobody has shared that amount of knowledge, and the comfort, the knowledge was given from the comfort side. There was no hard and fast rule. A lot of people said that whoever went to Bishan Singh Bedi, they changed his action, they made them run and everything. That was not.
That was only with you. I think you were the only lucky one then.
No,
I will come to that topic later on Bishan Paji, because you came to him for 1 month. I have been under him from the time I learned my left arm spin. So don't go there. You were lucky, Joe. See, it's very interesting.
Honestly, sorry to interrupt you, Kartik.
No, sorry.
Honestly speaking, because I have gone through a break in months as well. I spent good amount of time with sir but my focus and my thoughts were clear from the day one with sir that, sir, I am coming to you. These are my prerequisites, thoughts and areas to develop and become better, understand better, right? So our fitness was never thought about that part during our journey.
Yeah, I understand that.
Murali, yeah, our association, right? You were associated with him right from your LK. Joe went later on, but my first tour Vishnupadhyay was.
No, I'm going to come to that. We can't get there right now. I'm going to.
So we have a connection. We have connection.
We all have a connection. See, trust me, those greats have been absolute greats. What they can do, I don't think all of us put together can do, and that is what even Manibhaiya spoke about.
Yeah, no
what
way.
Those guys were, their skill levels were unbelievable, and that is why I want to come to it right now. Because see, in India, the form of coaching spinners has always been different, and you come from an era where you were always told that this is the way it should be. So speaking to you now, Chicha and Joey, you come to understand you're from Gadag. You had to do a lot of journey back and forth. Chicha, you were also not from Hyderabad. You were born somewhere else. So what was technique for you early on? Was it already formed by the time you reached a Shivlal Yadav or you reaching a Vijay Krishna, or was it still a work in progress? Because sometimes spinners, you have a set pattern and then it's tough to change. And I think that is one thing which we've always seen. And one more thing which we all need to understand with you guys is that you have worn many hats. Right now, you guys have been coaches, you guys have been part of a mentoring group. Apart from being fabulous spinners, you've also been, part of Asian Cricket Council. Chicha has already been a national selector. Sunil Joshi is now the chairman of national selectors. So when you think of coaching now, you look at the time when you were coached, fast forward 25, 30 years, now you have been coaching and you're going to coach further as well. What was it, what you learned, and what is it that is happening now?
No, Murali, fortunately for me, even though I came from a village, I was in a boarding school, public school. So public school had sports, and they could afford to bring in a coach from outside. Right. So Mr. Abidali was the first coach. When I was 11-year-old, he could come, thrice a week to our school premises. Right. And then looking, like we were talking about, looking at a test cricket itself was a big thing during that time. We were adding test cricketers. So in a way, I was fortunate. I never had to travel too far. It was boarding school. So you finish your school, you just go to the ground. So that was very, very fortunate. You could spend, instead of wasting those time, like a lot of people lost time when they were traveling and they had to go back. For me, there was so much time where I could always practice, and they had a pattern. Like, we talk about the basics. Although that time they only taught you basics. They said, be side on, put your hand up, rotate, and then flight the ball, whatever revolution. The other thing what they said was, whatever happened to your bowling, they never disturbed you. They never wanted to change your action. They only stuck to saying basics. Right. So those basics helped us very much. And for me, like I'm saying, I'm fortunate again and again because nobody disturbed with my bowling. Nobody taught me what I'm supposed to do. So it's only thing like, as you keep growing, because you bowl longer spells, so you could adjust a bit. So when you always discuss with your wicketkeeper or the seniors, and then who can forget Mr. Jaisima? Kamal Jaisima, I played for his team when I was 16 years. He used to lead a team called Maratpalli Cricket Club. So his inputs were so good. Simple placements, simple technique. And then he said, you only spoke about where you release the ball. So we were all
would you say yours was a very self-taught technique? With a few corrections here and there?
Yeah, because I was more of flattish. I told you, like I used to just come bowl flat, and then I was more depending on line and length. And if there's a helpful wicket, I could get more wickets. But mine was basically like nobody told me to flight the ball because I never exactly knew how to flight the ball. It was more of a probably that small gift I had. Even though I was bowling flat, I had that little revolution and that trajectory where after pitching the ball would turn. So initially nobody touched me. Yeah, I was like, being a captain is always advantage, right? You can bowl long spells.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Right from school days, I've been a captain right from under 14s, under 14s, under 15s, under 19s. Right. So I could come on whenever I wanted. So we knew that we were going to bowl. So playing a match when you're a captain, you're not going to underbowl yourself anyway.
Correct. Bilkul.
I think probably during that time, spoke our early days, there were not too many changes. Because nowadays, if you see, when you go to different camps, or everybody wants to give their knowledge to you, so they keep talking about too much of action or whatever. So fortunately for us, simple thing, basics, and they asked you to concentrate on a basic and bowl long spells. They wanted you to bowl when you're tired. They wanted to see how you react when you're tired. So all those things were simple and it was very helpful for us.
Waiting for you, Joe. No, like for you techniques, because Gadag wouldn't have had fabulous coaches. So in your formative years, that's where it's so important, isn't it? When once you learn it the right way, because you had a beautiful action. And again, when you compare the two actions where Chicha himself said his was self-taught, you always notice that there were certain things which was very natural to Chicha. His action was very smooth, although his front arm drop, where we always were taught that the lead arm has to be in control, his drop. But in spite of that, he had such good control over his body because it was all aligned and ramrod straight. What was it for you growing up? When were you growing up?
Kartik, no wonder that's what he was given an award called Muscle Man. Honestly, for me, it was a long journey actually. Gadag, nobody had the facilities and everything. My coach, my mentor was my brother, right? When I started traveling from Gadag to Hubli, journey early morning, getting up, taking a train, reaching Hubli at 6, practicing, then come back by train, then go to school. The journey made me so tough. I never changed my bowling action, right? My bowling action is the same when I started till I finished my cricket. Only area where I really worked with my mentor, Bishan Singh Bedi, was reducing the stride. Earlier, I had a bigger gym, and slowly, I really worked on that. That was my main motto of reaching to Sir. That was very successfully happened. And apart from that, nothing I changed in my bowling action or in my maybe delivery side is the only area where I really worked upon and it really got benefit, right? And looking at and whomever I have interacted in Karnataka during my junior games as well, nobody has encouraged to try and do this or that. And of course, to be honest, I never listened to them.
No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing because see, spin bowling is such where if you have too many coaches, you only end up getting confused as a young kid. But if you have a fallback option, if you have Shivlal Yadav to go to, you have a Bishan Paji or a Erapalli Prasanna or whoever, just one man or a couple of people to go to, then don't you think that you're a lot more in control of what you want to do? Even if you're following the wrong path, at least you're following one rather than getting confused.
No, honestly, one thing I remembered, of course, that was very, main fag end of the career when we reached, when we started talking about things, Anil was the biggest supporter for me because through my junior days, till I finished my test cricket, I was lucky enough to share Anil Kumble room with him because he was a magnificent as a room partner and a technician and a statistician in understanding the batsman's requirement and also to prepare a plan to execute with him. So that sort of a combination, having seen Anil very closely, having spent time with very closely to the best of the spinners from Karnataka across South India, right? And going into a new venture, trying to understand that. So there were so many people on the way, Kartik. I have taken everyone into my stride. But finally, what it really worked for me, I have chosen the best.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad that you have that kind of dissecting capacity because not many people had. I for one, because I was a seaman when I came to Delhi, I had Bishan Paji and Maninder Singh, two of the best, whom I could never say that, oh wow. But I was thin. When I was trying to flight, the ball wasn't pitching and going as they all thought. So Gurcharan sir was also there. He used to say, "Tez dalo, tumhara padke jata nahi hai. It doesn't fizz off the surface." Because I was very thin. I was 5 feet 2 inches at 14, 15 years age. And then Bishan Paji would say, "Flight the ball." We all know is that flight the ball, toss the ball up. And I am here. So many Sardarjis, I'm so confused. And Gurcharan sir himself came and said, "दो सरदारों के बीच में तेरे 12 बज गए ना?" So it's a tough one for a young kid. So to have the right person and just to follow one, and I spoke about this to Manibhai as well, to surrender to your guru, to have that ultimate faith in your guru, and then follow him blindly. I think that is one thing which every person you speak to, I think it comes forth that you actually do surrender finally to the one person whom you rely on.
No, definitely. I still remember one game. We were playing against England A side in Terry, South Zone versus England A, where Kevin Peterson got both the games, both the innings 100. He got Patri got double 100. Venu got 100. We won that game, right? I remembered the first innings. I got a couple of wickets, and I wasn't happy that I was the way I bowled. So I went and sat with Sir in the evening. He said,
not too far from where that ground was. His
"Yeah,
house.
I know, Terry. I remember." He said, "Okay, I'll come in the morning. So let's work for half an hour, 1 hour, whatever time, and I'll see the game and go away that day." And we came back, and I did bowl a spell in the morning about half an hour, 45 minutes. And he said, "Josh, nothing is there. Don't worry. Let me see till lunch, then I leave." I bowled. I got 4 wickets. He saw. I said, "You nothing. Why you're worried?" So just because you're bowling well, you didn't get wickets. That was a sort of a comfort which we sat and discussed. That's the simple thing. Even as you said, Kartik, I wore more hats, right? Till they get into coaching this season also. I will give a simple example. He has changed the mindset, the way our coaching philosophy can be better, can get better.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. 100%. I'm completely with you on it, because every time I speak to any young spinner, whatever I say is whatever Maninder Singh and Bishan Bedi have put in my head. And it's absolutely simple, because it's not as if it's my words. Bhagavad Gita can only be one. Whoever is explaining it is obviously interpreting it in his way. But I would say that what they have said, you're absolutely right. It's like a coaching manual for spinners who want to bowl the old-fashioned way. So having said that, one thing which I want to always have, it intrigues me, since you all come from that old school thought process of bowling, and you have worn many hats, how do you think cricket and spin bowling has changed, viewing as selectors and also just as purists of the game?
No, I'll talk about myself only. See, because now, if you wanted to be part of a 50-over game, you were supposed to play the longer version. That was the mindset before. That way, I'm saying sometimes you're very lucky. They never allowed you to play a 50-over game initially. You had to play a couple of seasons, a Ranji Trophy, probably 2-3 seasons, do well. Then they felt that you're experienced enough to play this 50 overs. And then there were no restrictions that time, right? If you see a 50-over World Cup or 50-over game, 4 in the circle, then you could put rest of them outside. As ICC kept changing the rules or the laws, it became a little more difficult for all the spinners, right? And even IPL, the first season, they said spinners won't be successful, right? They said that then they started bowling quick. But the moment you went back to your basics and then you started bowling slow through the air, naturally, spinners became integral part of T20 also. So lucky in the way I'm saying, so like we talk about basics, so you are asked to play more of day games, 3-day games, 4-day games, 5-day games. Once you gained experience, then only you bought into 50-over games. But now there's no choice. You want to be a good cricketer, you want to play throughout the year. So you have to be good in three formats. You have to be good in T20s, you have to be good in 50 overs, you have to be good in the longer version. Otherwise, you'll end up like being a Pujara. You have to wait for a long time to get to play international cricket. Yeah, but for me, it keeps changing. Cricket keeps changing. We have to adjust according to it and enjoy it. And then you saw there's so much of coaching. You talk about support staff. Support staff is more than the team nowadays. But that's the way cricket has come. But if you ask any one of us, we were very happy to have a coach and a manager. We could take care of ourselves. But now it's the other way around. So cricket has, it has been played so much. There's no time for you to go back and work on your skills. Right? You finish your game, then you're playing T20, then you're playing 50-over game, then you go for IPL. So in between, if you're injured, you're coming back, that's the only time where you can go back and work on your bowling. Otherwise, be prepared right from day one. So you have to be physically very fit. Right? Then you have to be mentally very fit. And then you have to be ready to play cricket. Like we also played throughout the season. Like somebody like you or Joe, that you went and played in England for a longer time. Once you finish the season, you would be there for 6 months, come back and then play our domestic cricket. Now, you guys also played a lot of cricket. I never played leagues. I knew, because once you come back, our conditions are going to be different and you're going to get tired there, right? So Buchibabu was good enough for us. Monudula was good. So that was a little smart enough. Yeah, but see, we had different types. People talk now. People talk that you talk about Dhoni, you talk about all the cricketers who came from smaller places. So we all also came from smaller places, right? But then that time it was different. People wanted to see your skill. People wanted to be a little more like the traditional way. Right? But now you have to be good in everything. You have to be more of a hitter, and then you have to have more variations. So it's changed. It's changed much difficult. If you ask me, cricket nowadays is much more difficult than those days. You had enough time to prepare yourself. Your league matches were good enough. Your Buchibabus were good enough. So every league team had the best of batsmen who were playing either for your state team or they were playing for India. Right. So if you ask me, that was like more skill. You had to bowl longer spells. You had to be prepared. Right. Probably you're not that good a fielder we could never dive because the grounds were not good. But that's why it's changing. So we have to accept it's changing. So if you are good at bowling slow and finishing, where like we're seeing those Chinaman bowlers nowadays, they're little successful. So they're all adjusting. So yeah, you ask me, those are good old days where there were not much pressure. But now, one valid point I say is, if you're born bowler in India and you're playing on any wickets, as a spinner, you're supposed to get wickets. Otherwise, nobody wanted to talk to you. Nobody said no. And they said you're not good enough. And you, me, or Joe, we all played with 3-3, right? We were 3 spinners playing a test match. One guy would always get underbowled. But still, when there was ball in your hand, you had to get wickets. Nobody saw me. If you never got wickets, there was always the pressure of being dropped. So, captain has to be a good friend.
Very good.
If you have a skill, see, finally, what I have learned throughout my career and my coaching career, if you develop your skill, you don't need to change your skill, whatever format you play. I played Test cricket, I played ODI, I played IPL also, right? I still remember dismissal of Graham Smith got out to me, sweeping across the line. And in the power play, the first year, when he played for Rajasthan Royals, I just give a simple example. The first ball he tried, it went top edge 2 runs, over short third man. The next ball he tried, I had a cow corner in mid-off, mid-on up, and I was bowling. So, cow corner and deep square leg was 2 fielders behind. So, Rahul said, I said, Joe, this is a field. I said, I was happy with that. But I never bowled faster, or I never bowled a change in my action. I bowled the way I bowl in every format. Your best ball or your good ball is always a good ball. If someone is going to hit you for a 6, he's taking a chance. So finally, how consistent you come back and bowl the same delivery. There are arguments, people will say that today's time, if you flight the ball like that, 6 sixes will be hit. I don't agree with that. I don't agree. People say that still that, okay, you cannot bowl like that. See, finally, between a bat and a ball contest, the quicker you bowl, it is easier for a batsman, right? That's what we have learned how to accept that one. Every time you change the pace, you varied the pace, batsmen found difficult and struggled.
Yeah.
Right? How many batsmen in today's cricket probably step out, go back and play? No. If he stepped out, eventually he's going to hit you straight six. If he's not going to get to reach of the ball, he'll be out. So earlier days, back in the days, classic example, Praveen Amre. He used to step out, wait for the ball, either play all along the ground, play cut shot, play for a single, play for a defense. So today, I don't see that. Right? Even if you look at the domestic cricket also, I've seen most of the spinners or most of the batsmen, if they step out, they have only one choice, hit straight.
Or hit somewhere. Hit somewhere. So again, there's an interesting thing which Chicha mentioned, right, as he was answering or talking previously. He said, I was lucky that I played the longer format. And Joe, if you remember, just a few days ago, we had the same conversation about now you being a selector, and everybody talks about spin bowling cupboard being bare in India. And the reason why I say this, it's not about the white ball cricket I'm talking about. It's about getting wickets in the longer format. And again, we've noticed that the format of the Ranji Trophy has changed. People are happy bowling with long on and long off. And you remember, I'm not saying that that's the right way or the ones which happened before. What I was trying to say was that Chicha answered a very nice thing, which I wanted to touch upon, and again, as you and me, Joe, spoke about this, people played the longer format, which means that they learned bowling with silly point, short leg, mid on and mid off up, so that even if you got hit, you learned that survival instinct to beat the batsman in the air was there. And also the skill was taught that if you learn to bowl like this, when the ball drops, when the ball spins, then you can play longer formats because you can then bowl quicker. Bowling quicker is the easiest thing. So when people talk about bowling slow means bowling slow with the revolution, bowling slow with the ball dropping. It's not like somebody throwing donkey drops. So I think that is one thing. How do you teach that in modern day cricket? Because at the end of the day, you've got some fabulous spinners. Once they go, you still want cricketers to develop taking wickets in 4 day, 5 day. I'm not talking about white ball cricket where you've got long on, long out, deep point. Even if you bowl a bad ball, you have cover, you have comfort. But in this, how do you teach those bowlers with the right mix? Because they want to play white ball cricket as well, and they want to play red ball cricket as well. How do you find that mix, that balance?
No, like I said, olden days you had just a captain and a manager. There was no coach traveling with you. It became easy. The captain would always give you a field. So that time it was, as a bowler, you had to put your field and bowl initially. You're not doing according to your plans. Then the captain could change, and you were supposed to bowl according to his field. Right. Even now, like we said, unfortunately in India, most of us have played on good tracks too. All our cricket we never played only on turning tracks. So I think most of us were good enough to bowl on good tracks too. To bowl little more overs, you get wickets. But then in India, whenever you played against international teams, it was basically more on a turners. So in turners, like we said, we had to pick wickets. And you don't pick wickets, you're not good. Or they label you as a bowler who could only bowl on turners. That is the problem we had to face, right? So most of the guys now, yesterday we had an interaction with one of the state associations. So that coach was saying, bowlers are bowling well on good tracks. Right? Spinners, they're bowling well on good tracks. The moment you give a little turner, they don't have a clue. It's become the other way around. Because they're playing more on grassy wickets, right? Because there's so many matches which we are playing nowadays, no time to prepare, and because of that, they're bowling quick. And like we said, batsmen also don't have that patience. Nobody wants to grind for runs. They want to hit big shots. So like you rightly said, long off, long on, deep mid-wicket, whatever. People, when they're trying to hit, you're getting wickets on the fence. So they're getting wickets on good tracks, but on small wickets where they're turning a bit or little rank turners, they're struggling. So that's where, like we said, we have to identify players at the under-19s, make them play more 3-day games, make them play 4-day games. The way they get that rhythm, where they get tuned to getting adopted to the white ball cricket.
I think, for me, where I'm not talking about the present situation, right? I'm talking about, say, 5 years or 10 years back. Most of the coaches, so-called our own fellow cricketers, right? Just because they just wanted a sort of a IPL push. They have started adapting certain foreign coaches' thoughts, foreign coaches' policies, right? They started doing that. I'll give a classic example. Everyone spoke about Daniel Vittori. Who's Daniel Vittori? Daniel Vittori plays for New Zealand. He is for New Zealand. Will he come and play here in India? No. They said, Daniel Vittori runs straight, you also run straight and bowl. Just because they were not, the coaches at that point of time, they were not equipped to tell a spinner why he is jumping out, how he can get rectified that part, right? So, in that bargain, they have encouraged some of the genuine spinners. You have bowled round the wicket, Raju has bowled round the wicket, I have bowled round the wicket. I never had any problem. You also bowl wide of the crease. He also bowled wide of the crease. I also bowled wide of the crease, close to some middle of the crease. So why that has been not communicated to the younger generation of spinners, right?
Yep.
Someone said, Raju will remember my first tour. You need to come close to stumps and bowl. How? How I should come close?
That is the biggest thing. That is the biggest thing. Yeah.
Right? If the coaches are not trying to understand the requirement, if they are not well equipped, how well or how clearly or how comfortably you're going to convince a fellow player, be it 19, be it 16, be it a Ranji Trophy player, be it an elite player as well. Right? That sort of a communication which was not existing. Right? Even then now, today, I won't say that it is still there, but somewhere that is missing. It can be encouraged.
Yeah, Joe, it's a tough one. You know why I say that? Sometimes you need to be headstrong as a bowler, but in trying to be headstrong, what happens is that then you rub your coach. Say, imagine Chicha is coaching a particular bowler, you're coaching a particular bowler. He comes to you, he sees you as the mentor, he sees you as the guru. He learns it the way you teach him. Then he has to go and play for any team. I'm just saying club team, Ranji Trophy team, or whichever team. And then that coach says, you have to do this. He's thinking, my survival, only if I do what he says, he will keep me in the team. If he doesn't follow or obey what that person is saying, then he's going to think, that's a big one which many players also face. That conundrum is something which many players face.
But Kartik, I'll tell you one thing. It's very interesting topic, as we all know that. See, finally, who's at the receiving end is the player, right?
It's a tough one. That's what I'm saying. It's a tough one. It's a catch-22 for the player.
No, that's what I'm saying. If he does not perform well for his first-class team, there will be someone. If he does not perform well for his franchisee team, someone else will be there. So finally, we need to educate. The coaches need to have an education that this player need to be equipped with completely skill level.
Right.
Whether he plays a game.
So you're saying that basically you should be on the same page with the coach of a respective team.
No, that's the reason. The reason how well you grow. You're not going to overnight become a star or a someone. You need to grow from the grassroots, right? The grassroots level brings the skill level or a confidence level to make understand a bowler. Okay, boss, your ball, this one you bowl with more revolution. The more you bowl, it is more difficult. Be it red ball, be it white ball, be it pink ball, whatever it is, right? That sort of an education need to be equipped from the coaching staff as well.
Yeah, I think you hit an interesting point, because the wide of the crease which you mentioned, I think I always face that because I did it. And Manivia was the first one who told me, he said, look, once you go wide of the crease, the most important thing is that this shoulder is still following your ball and it's not opening out towards deep fine leg. As long as you're not doing that, whether you want to go wider, I have got no issues. I see that your shoulder doesn't open out. That is something which people need to be told, because that is your natural strength. And that is where I would like to come back to you, Joe, on this. Because Paji was always close to the wicket.
Yes.
Vishen Paji always was close to the wicket. So when he when he cut your delivery strike shot, didn't he ever say, Joe, get closer, son, get closer?
No. See, the idea was delivery strike was reduced all along the practice sessions to ensure you get a little closer and release the ball when your shoulder is already facing slip and gully. That's where your ball is moving in, and after pitching it goes out.
Okay.
That's sort of a revolution we built on, and we're talking about that part.
Chicha, you've also been associated with Vishen Paji. Since we were talking about Vishen Paji, he was your coach, and I think that was a very interesting tour as well. Your thoughts on what you learned from the great man?